So to continue our map guide here, whenever it comes to Sands of Sinai, which was a heavily requested map for you guys, we're actually going to be showing you off some early game positions that you can actually take advantage of and basically have repetition that gets you better at the game. Because one of the probably hardest things to do within War Thunder, at least like learning maps, is just initially knowing where to go. And that's what these videos are designed to basically do. It's designed to show you guys where you should kind of go on each one of these maps. And then it gives you a very good position that you can just keep learning from every time you spawn on it. So Sands of Sinai is one of these maps, like we'll stop and actually talk about it right now, at least from the map view, that I only have like one spawn that I take for either side, and it's either the north spawn with this one or the south spawn with this one. This field area over in here, I think it's so limited for what it is, and rarely do people ever go here. You'll like at low tiers, at mid tiers, like that sort of area, you maybe will see like a M18 Hellcat go take A, and you may see something like a Ferdinand or Yag Tiger or T28 or T29 or something that's like heavily armored stay back here. And that's basically all that you have within this area. You don't really have many medium tanks that will move up to A because they're really too slow to do it. And at top tier, well, it's just battle of the laser rangefinder. So in my opinion, it's not exactly the best place to go because for one, it's very limiting on the amount of kills you can possibly get, and that's RP and SL. So you definitely want to have that. But for me, at least, what I do on this map is I take this spawn right here, and depending on if I'm playing low tier or high tier, I want to cross over into B right in here. And there's two positions that I'll go to at Bravo, and we'll kind of show them at the same time as this. But one thing that you need to know about is if you spawn in late or you're spawning in something like a Challenger like I am right now, remember to always view right here and make sure there's no one lining up shots through that train track area. Sometimes I've had to stop at that rock and actually start engaging guys who are looking to see people who are crossing like I am. But if you're in a fast enough vehicle or you're fast enough to just get across, you will not really have to worry about that. But that's the only position that you have to worry about getting like pretty much spawn sniped at that point. So you do want to worry about it. But for me at least, this is what I do. So if it's a top tier game where I know that people from like this side are going to have laser rangefinders and be able to just like shoot in this area very reliably, I go over into this area. So instead of going on the outskirts, which is where I go sometimes, I'll actually just go over here in the B and start just brawling. This is very good for tanks like the Challenger. It's very good for vehicles that have like good brawling sense to them. Stuff like a T-54 or something like that. It's pretty good to actually go to this area because you will be able to have at least a little bit of cover from this area in here. And then once you get over into here, you will be able to see guys over in this area. Sometimes they're moving up like through there. You'll also see a couple of guys that like to come this way, so you do have to worry about that. So these rocks right there, you have to worry about them a little bit. And then the big thing about this position is that if you can get over here and use this little def blade to your advantage, you can go hold down and actually get some pretty good shots on. So like if you have guys that are moving up, you can just go back and forth and use your Challenger's armor and use your Chieftain's armor, someone that has like heavily armor on the turret, and you're able to get these guys who are trying to get to Bravo. So once you play this position enough, it is very, very good. The only problem about this position is moving up, because once you get out of this little def blade, you're definitely in a world of hurt, and especially from these guys from the city, it might be a little bit hard to do. So for me, at least, whenever I'm playing the B position, I don't really ever capture the point unless I have teammates with me, because there's one key thing about the Bravo point. As soon as you start capturing it, there's going to be people who are still behind these rocks right here who are going to start pushing. And then you might have some people pushing from this area. And then if you have people who went down through C, they might actually start pushing here just to actually see you at Bravo. So you could get pretty much pincered very, very easily within that position of Bravo. So that's why I like to keep these rocks in front of me right there and kind of just make sure that I am not going to get shot from either C or people who are still pushing through these rock areas right here, and they're able to get you very, very quickly. But yeah, let's go look at the other position that I like to take on this side of the map, and then we'll go look at it right now. All right, so just for the value of time here, just imagine that we respawn at this spot down in here, and we just went across the railroad tracks again. This is my secondary spot that I like to go to. I like to go to this one more in the mid-tier area, or maybe I'd probably set a cutoff as like 9-3-ish. Somewhere in that area is where I would no longer start to go this position. But what it does is it actually makes it to where you get behind these rocks, you can counter people who are going to Alpha. And then also you can counter people who are on these outskirts out here who are pushing into Bravo. If you can have one guy doing this, and you have like guys still pushing up through that position I showed you before, you can actually control Bravo very, very reliably, because this is right here. Like, I'm just going to ping it. That position is probably the downfall of your Bravo position, because it's very hard to get people out of those rocks. And well, this position basically does that. So what you want to do is you want to come out to here. I like to take at this rock first when it comes to this position, because if you have people who are actually out here, you can actually see them crossing, and maybe you're able to get some shots on them. But at the same time, you can actually have some cover, and then you can come in and out of it right here. Just go up here, snipe at them for a little bit. Maybe if they're crossing over to Bravo, snipe at them if they're coming this way. And it gives you a little bit of leeway to just see what is happening with a little bit of cover. So once you see that there's like no one out here, or that they just like all came up and you destroyed them, I start just moving around these rocks. This position is more or less very, very good for something like a light tank. Like I really have a huge success in this sort of position and stuff like Bulldogs or stuff in M18 Hellcats, for example. But once you get up to here, once again, you want to kind of just get in the cover. You want to get into these little bitty rocks. And basically what you want to do is you want to defend your Bravo guy. If there's one dude on Bravo, you want to make sure no one's coming around here. You want to listen to engine sounds. And once you do that, and once you're very confident that there's no one in these positions anymore, you can just start moving up the rock, the rock, the rock. Basically, that's what it is. Come to here, make sure there's no one like over in here. You can check the city once you get over to these positions right here. See if there's anything pushing into Charlie. See if there's anything pushing into Bravo as well. And that's basically what this position is you just move up the rock, the rock, the rock. You can, once you get to here, you can be like, okay, so maybe I could go take Bravo. Maybe I can start moving towards C. This is probably the position that I would say you start going into whenever you're like, okay, so our team is winning. We're actually doing pretty well. And now I just want to get some kills and get some RP and SL. That's basically what you're in right now. So you can continue to move up to here, move up all the way up through here and do that. Sometimes I'll take a right and go into Bravo, but if you keep moving up, you can get into a pretty good thing. The only problem is like I said, this side of spawn over here, especially in like a top tier game, like where people have laser rangefinders, you're just going to have people who automatically just know where you're at and they're just going to snipe you, especially if you killed like 3 or 4 of them trying to get on Bravo or something. This one is actually pretty hard to actually get into and get around to get into like a spawn trapping position. But yeah, overall, this is my positions for at least this spawn, but we will show one more that is very much catered towards a vehicle which is pretty much designed around having some sort of like smaller map. And that's one of the problems with Sands of Sinai, is that it's a huge map and it really doesn't cater a lot of vehicles within the game, which is kind of sad. But yeah, you can get up to this position right here. This is the power position. If you can get into this one right here, and you can just like go in and out and you can counter the guys like they're behind C, because if you're able to get to here, basically all the enemies should be in this circle where I'm circling it with my little mouse, and they should be coming out of this spawn. So if you can get in this position right here, this is like just amazing. Like you can even back up, and if you're in like a challenger like I am right now, you can kind of get some shots on this with like being a hold down. Like this position is so crazily good if you can actually get in it. It's very rare though that your team will do good enough to where you can get in this position and then you can counter the enemy. But yeah, let's look at a position, at least for the south side one more time, of where if you have like for example, let's just say that you're in like a jumbo Sherman and you need a very small map. This is what I would use this position on. So let's look at it now. All right, so now we have a jumbo Sherman here, and this is the position I like to take with vehicles like this, which has a 75mm cannon, and it doesn't really have that much pen to it, and which means that you really do need the fact that there's smaller maps within the game. So to make Sands of Sinai into a more of a smaller map, this is basically the position that I really like to take. So what you want to do on your initial spawn right here is that you see that there is a road. You want to try to make your way to that road as fast as possible, because the south side right here, this is their main advantage. If you don't see what the road is, it's literally this right here. And what the road does is it makes it to where you can actually go a little bit quicker and get into these positions a little bit faster. Now, I really wouldn't like try to just like pretty much like do like a 45-degree angle to it and try to get to it. I would just try to get to it as fast as you can, get on it, and then hopefully you'll be able to get a little bit more speed and you're able to get into these positions a little bit quicker. But for this one, what you want to do is you turn Sands of Sinai basically into like Poland, and you want to play in this like sea area, because you're going to have less and less enemies which are actually going to be able to engage you over here. So what you want to do is you want to come down to here, and once you get into this area, so once you get into right here, you either can make 2 decisions. You can either straight up just go into sea around this rock. I really would never go in this area, but you could go to the sea around this rock and let the enemies start funneling into you, or you can cut off the enemies from coming to this direction, so like over here, which is normally what I try to do at the start of the game. Now it's it's a position that really is kind of limiting on what it can do, because once you do go to that rock, you kind of have to wait for the enemies to come to you, and you'll have some teammates which like to sit like right here, who like to snipe, and sometimes they make it to where the enemies don't like to move up. But it's really a position that I really like to take whenever I'm in a vehicle like this, because I'm able to make the engagement ranges basically conform to my gun. Like, I do not have to push around this rock, and I can just wait on the enemies to start pushing me, which is pretty much the times whenever the jumbo is going to be extremely good. So this is what I like to do. I like to come up to here. Maybe there'd be something like a puma or something that's very fast that likes to move up. I wouldn't ever go around this rock though, and we're going to go around it just to show you. But think about it this way. They have all of this open field right here. And yeah, your little 75, especially if you're facing like Tiger 2Hs or something like that, is not going to do good at all. And look at your reverse, it's going to be extremely bad. So this is what I do. I make them come around this side of the rock, and then I want to play more over in the C area. And also with this position, you can actually capture C if you stay over in here, which you're probably not going to be able to, because there's going to be people that push up. But what you want to do is you basically want to have your teammates who are like sitting behind there trying to snipe at them, and use your headset to listen and see if there's going to be people coming around that rock. But just basically make it to where, like, you see a panther, you shoot him, you back up around the rock, and you just keep doing this over and over and over. And basically that's how you succeed on this sort of map with something like a jumbo, something that needs very close ranges to be good. This is the perfect position for it. And basically what I would do is, once you see that your team is either pushing towards their spawn up here, I would just start going towards Bravo and start helping those guys out as well, because it's actually a little bit of a place where you can get shorter ranges. But yeah, this is like a position on this map that I only take if I have to play something like a jumbo or something that needs a closer range. Because look at this, once you get up to here, you need like a 76, or you need something that has a little bit of pun, because your range is just too far for this sort of gun. But yeah, you can move up to here. I have seen people who start doing this. Maybe you can just annoy people too with the 75. But yeah, it's one of those positions that I really only take like 30% of the time whenever my lineup basically makes me do it, because my tank kind of just isn't the best. But yeah, you can move up to here. Hopefully you just don't get shot. Just remember, you just gotta be very keen on where the enemies are at. Make sure to use your binos. Make sure to figure out where they're hiding at, because that is very, very keen for this sort of tank to do well. And you gotta move up, and you gotta get closer to the enemy. If you don't get closer to them, well, they're just going to outrange you, and your gun is going to basically be very ineffective, especially with a vehicle like the jumbo right here at 5.7. It's basically, if you're not within 50 meters of somebody, it's going to be pretty hard to actually kill them. So that's what I recommend with this sort of vehicle. You can move up to like this sort of position. Hopefully what you're hoping is that you can get side shots on them. So like if you see like a panther moving up through the spawn, hopefully you can see the side of them, and you just keep whacking them over and over. So that's basically how I play the seaside of Sands of Sinai. But now let's get on to the northern side, and let's look up some positions there. Alright, so now we're on Sands of Sinai for the north side, and once again, I just don't ever spawn this side over here. I just think this whole entire area is almost worthless, because there's not enough enemies to be there to get enough RP and SL. And well, it's just an open field, and it's not really advantageous for many things within the game. So here's basically what I like to do on this map. Once again, it's basically playing the Bravo side. If you've not really noticed a pattern with me, is I really like to play positions on the opposite side that I know extremely well. So if I know on the south side that I like to go over here, or I like to go over here, well, guess what? Whenever I'm playing the north side, if I go to almost the exact same positions, I know what I do, and I can pretty much expect the enemy to almost do the exact same thing. Once again though, you do have to worry about getting shot, especially in, let's say, like up tiers to like 9-3. Well, not say up tiers, but like, let's just say like more of a top tier game. This railroad crossing right here, once again, while the enemies could shot at you at the south side, there can be someone who sits right at that rock, and they like to get an early snipe off. So for me, at least on this side, I like to go on the outskirts, because that area right there where you could go into basically does not exist whenever it comes to this map. You will always have somebody who likes to stop at this rock right here and shoot through it, and you will not really be able to get to the B position that reliably. So I like to take the outskirts right here. Once again, I like to stop at rocks, so I'll stop at this rock right here. Basically be like, all right, so what is coming up? You'll most likely see people's like turrets like actually peeking over these ridge lines right here. Light tanks can definitely scout these guys right here, which is really good to see, because you'll see their turret. You'll see some of them like a Ferdinand or like a Yagtai, or just like to sit up here. You scout them, and you can get some pretty nice little points at the very start of it. But yeah, once again, basically, if you don't have a gun for it, don't shoot at them so they know where you're at. You just want to keep moving up the rock to rock to rock. I like to go over here, so I get that sight line pretty much cut off when it comes to the enemy, and then you can come up to here, and this is the rocks that I was talking about. It's very, very hard to get people out of, just because they have so much cover, and they can just pretty much, like, almost be immune over here because you will not be able to see them, and they'll be able to get some, like, cheeky shots on you. But for me, at least, I don't really like this position. I don't really like coming into here. So, like, yes, you do have all these rocks. Like, let's preface this right now. You have all these rocks that you can use as cover and all that sort of stuff. But once you move into here, it's a little bit hard to get out of this position, especially if you have something that's like a heavy tank or something. Also, that rock is floating. But yeah, you can get over here, and yeah, you can start sniping at guys like that. But it's one of those positions that's kind of hard to get out of, because, like, think about it right now. If that enemy was like the challenger where I was at, and he's able to just keep poking up and up and up with his turret, there's nothing I can do. The only escape route I have is right here, and look, I'm shot. Like, so to me at least, I don't really like to ever go into this area, and I just keep continuing my little journey out on the outskirts out here and trying to get around the enemy and try to get to positions where I can destroy them very reliably. But yeah, that is a position that you can take. It's just very, I would probably say, what's the right word for it? It's very hit or miss sometimes. It depends on what kind of tank is pushing there, and it depends on if you're able to get good positions on it. But yeah, you can take up this rock. This is one of my favorite ones if there's someone from Alpha that for some reason has just like randomly seen you. You're able to like be right here, and you're able to like shoot them if they're coming in. Remember this, most of the time though, with the Alpha position, this is something that I've witnessed a ton with this map, is if you have like one side, like let's just say the south side pushes it and captures it, where do they have to go? Like, think about it in this way. They're most likely going to start going over to Bravo. So this is a really good position to take up if you just notice that like no one on your team spawned here, and you like scouted like 5 guys going to Alpha. So you can just stand right here, and as soon as they start coming out to go to Bravo, just go bang, move back into your rock, reload, and then they'll just never even know where they're getting hit from most of the time. I've had that happen a lot. You can wait till they even get all the way up here, just shoot them. It's such a really good position for that, but it depends on what the enemy is doing at Alpha, and that is something that's huge. So once you see that you're clear to cross, this is what I normally do. I cross into this area. I either go on the outskirts sometimes, depending on, once again, what the enemy spawn is doing on the Alpha side, or you can come up into these rocks right here and start engaging these guys on kind of an equal footing in a way, because you're taking pretty much away the range differences whenever it comes to their hold down nature of their tanks. But yeah, this is the time you should start probably looking at the seaside. Make sure nothing's pushing through the city area. Make sure there's nothing pushing through these rocks right here. Make sure there's no one like hiding behind there. You have some guys that like to push this area too as well. That's what I've seen before. But the thing is that like, as long as you don't hit the capture point, many people don't even know you're here. And that's one thing that many people don't understand about War Thunder, is like, as soon as you hit this, like, so like, let's just say that I don't go like this way and don't hit the capture point. Like, let's just say I get on it enough to where it starts capping. Look at what it does. It shows up at the top that there's someone on the point, and it may make someone over here start looking towards your direction. So you definitely want to try to not hit the capture point, and more or less use the B position as a position to move up. Because imagine right now that you're moving up to this position and you've not captured the point. Like, just rely on like a teammate to do it. And then once you're up here, like, just imagine B is still not captured, and you have a guy who's just like crossing right here. He'll just never even know. He would never even know that someone would move up to that position without capturing Bravo. So while yes, it is pretty good to capture stuff for RP and SL, it's still good to have the element of surprise for a lot of enemies within a game. And that's what I would highly recommend doing. But yeah, once you get up to here, you will start being into the enemy spawn. And for this, for a light tank like an AMX-13, I would definitely say now is the time whenever you should start like scouting more instead of like getting kills, because your cannon is not really that great for here. But if you're in like a up tier game, or it's not saying up tier game, but like a 9-3 and you're in a Magok with a lull pin round, like, you can still shoot these guys coming out of their spawn. So yeah, this is how I play Sands of Sinai, at least for the northern spawn on the B side. This is more or less a position I would say for light tanks and medium tanks. Heavy tanks on Sands of Sinai, you basically want to go into C, which is probably one of the biggest things about this map, is that you really need lineups. It's not really catered to just one type of vehicle. I really like playing vehicles like this, which you're able to scout and able to show your teammates where people are at, because the sight lines for Sands of Sinai can definitely be a little bit extreme. But yeah, let's show off this final position for Sands of Sinai, and then we'll end the video. And hopefully you guys like these. Once again, it takes a little bit of time to make these types of videos, and really it's just the average like games that I played to actually realize what we need to do, especially since this map was updated. And it's been updated a ton because remember, we used to go up into the mountainside up here, but now it's just a flat open area and it's a little bit hard to understand maps like this, which I understand why probably this one was one of the most requested ones because it has been the recently updated one. But yeah, let's look at the other side of the map and then we will end the video. So once again, this is basically a position on this map that I really like to take if I have something like a jumbo or I have something that needs lower ranges to actually be effective in, which is basically going to the seaside again and engaging the targets there. A vehicle like the Amex, like M4 right here, is probably a really, really good one. Just because of your autoloader, and also you'll be able to recently get there very quickly. It's also a pretty good position for like heavy tanks because you're able to you're not able to like get into like huge sight lines going to like Bravo, and like yeah, like crossing right here is probably your biggest risk of death. And if you're in a very slow tank, and especially laser rangefinder BRs, you'll be able to see that very, very quickly. For me at least, I do not like the snipe. I do not like the snipe on the side because they have the hill, to me at least, which is a better, in my opinion. So what I like to do is I like to just come down to this position and I like to basically make the city into like a shield. So right now, unless there's someone crossing like right here, they will not be able to shoot me and I'll be able to get into the city basically very, very easily. Like it's not going to be that hard to do. So now what I do is instead of going towards the capture point, or instead of going towards like the center of the capture point, I mean, I like to get at these rocks again, but on the other side this time. So this time I like to just get here. I will like capture it, just hold up these rocks right here, and basically just wait and see what crosses. Sometimes you'll have people from like this area start coming up through here. You're able to get them. You have some people that actually just like cross right in front of you, but as soon as you like start moving out, that's kind of a bad position to be in. You'll see people up through here. Just remember you got to get some good shots on them. Just don't make sure they can get shots on you, and it's a really good position. But the cool thing about this C position right here is you can actually move up to this one, and you can like very much get into like an extreme cover scenario right here. So in my opinion, this is what I like to play at C. Just listen to sounds, listen to your headset and stuff like that, and just kind of realize where the enemies are going to be at. Sometimes I like if you want to know where the hot spot is on C, I see a lot of people who like to just come up here. Remember this road right here that we showed on the south side spawn? This is a huge hot spot because once again, if you have people who know that gives you a little bit of a speed bonus, they're going to be taking that road very, very consistently, and you'll be able to get some good snipes on them sometimes. But yeah, this is what I do for this map. For me at least, I like to get in this position because I'm able to brawl very reliably, very good in vehicles like a jumbo, for example. And you really want to just counter these guys. So once you see that like there's no one coming in, or maybe like it's like 2 to 3 minutes in the game, and you see that the spawns basically everyone's out and about now, you can start moving out to here. But you gotta remember there can be a guy right there sitting behind those rocks. You have this area right here where it's just the hold down position. You want to clear that out first before you start moving up. Do not move up until this area is clear, because they have the advantage of your position because they're hold down, right? And if they have gun depression, they will take you out. But once again, basically what I do is I like to push towards Bravo at this point. Used to on Sands of Sinai, I would say that it was advantageous to go for the spawns. But the thing about Sands of Sinai now, especially since they've updated the spawn, especially like this area where there's just a ton of buildings now, the spawn areas, at least for like this side and then also this side, have a ton of cover. So in my opinion, I don't really like the spawn trap as much like soon as I can. I want to kind of like let the game go a little bit. And then once there's like SPAs and stuff like that, then you can start moving into the spawns. But yeah, like whenever it comes to like the first like 2 minutes, if like you just steamroll C, go in town to like just to see like there's enemy spawn area is not that advantageous. But yeah, this is the next position that I like to take up just because it's not at sea, so they're not going to really expect you to be here, and you have a ton of cover with these rocks, and you'll be able to snipe into the enemy spawn and see people who are crossing over to the B and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, hopefully this position guide helped you guys. I know Sands of Sinai is one of those maps that honestly is not my favorite to play in the world, just because it's one of those where I feel like 50% of the map is kind of just useless. I mean, like, you have the A area, but it's just so open and so not advantageous for a lot of vehicles within the game, so I just never go there. And also at the same time, you just don't have enough enemies there. Like, you'll have maybe like a Hellcat, or I see like PT-76s going there all the time, or you see like a Leopard 1 at max. But most of the action happens around B and happens around C. And to me, at least, that's what's kind of important to do is because you want to grind at the same time. I don't really think people want to play the game just to see 2 enemies, and then they have to pretty much walk across no man's land over here to get the Bravo. So, yeah, that's at least how I think of this map. Is it the best one in the game? No, but you still can play it and still can do pretty well on it. So, hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys in the next War Thunder video.